Welcome everybody to councillors, staff and people online. Firstly, I'll read the affirmation. This meeting, seek knowledge for understanding, have purpose in all that we do, stand tall, be strong, let's show respect for each other. We'll go on to apologies. I've got one apology, and that's Francois. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Alan? Ashley? All in favour? Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? I've got one declaration of interest, but it's in public excluded. Public forums, petitions, deputations. There's none. Late items. Are there any late items? Thank you. Item 6, confirmation of the minutes, operations committee meeting dated the 3rd of March 26. Has everyone read the minutes? And is there any amendment to those minutes? No amendments? Can I please have a mover and a seconder? Colin and Andy. Item number 7, actions list. Note the actions attached, and we'll run through the actions. Are you going to give us a high level, Michael, yes, on the actions?
So I'll go through what everyone's going to do.
Just a high level on the actions. I think there's
the 6 actions, and then we've got 8 papers to go through, and I'll invite each of the people that wrote papers to come up in the presentation so you can ask more questions there. So just give an idea, it is the existing rights for the pre-1991 flood protection, the quarterly catchment report, the river mouth links, and then we move on to capital works where it's explains stage 1, 2. Hopefully you can see the stock banks and sequel, the grey mouth stock banks, and the store job. So I'll start off there with the action list. So the first one is start to review provisions in the TTP regarding subdivisions and engage with Grey Council, and we're looking at about discharge waterways. So I'll invite Peter to give us a verbal update on that, please.
Yep, you'll probably
Morning,
get a
Peter.
written. Good morning. It's nice to see you all there. Wish I was there. We've had 2 meetings, a phone one, and we had an in-person meeting with the stormwater staff of Grey District Council. We met with the chap Ayush Yadav on Thursday, myself and Wayne Spencer. It's sort of being headed up by a chap called Curtis Perrin-Smith, who's very senior in that organisation, but he is overloaded at present, so he couldn't meet. But we had a very productive meeting. So the purpose of these meetings was to reconcile what the TTPP says about subdivisions, and in particular subdivision generated stormwater impacts, and what is in the code of practice for Grey District Council, and to reach a good agreement. So we went through what the TTPP says, and we went through what they say. I'll speak very briefly about the TTPP. TTPP really talks about all new allotments having the stormwater connected to the right place. And it seems to be the standard of New Zealand standard 4404, which goes up to mitigation up to 100-year with climate change. But it's not explicit, but that is specifically referred to an email from Lois Easton for the residential settlement zones, Karamea, Kumara, Okarito, Black Bull. And so, and when it's from industrial land or large areas of impervious surface, as happens with subdivisions, applicant must demonstrate sufficient treatment to mitigate adverse effects. It's mainly aimed at volume, but it's equally aimed at, of course, water quality. So they have to meet stringent standards. So then it's a pretty generalized statement, but it covers multiple things in the TTPP. So then we talk about what Grey District Council are doing. So they developed a stormwater management requirement, developed in conjunction with Stantec, and it forms the basis of council's requirements for developers undertaking land development. And again, they reference NZS 4404 as being a key document. And I'm a big supporter of NZS 4404 for mitigating stormwater effects. And they say it's in line with the approach taken by other councils in New Zealand, including Auckland City Council and Queenstown Lakes District Council. Now, I won't bore you with the specifics of this. I think that's probably better dealt with a written paper that you can absorb, but I'm happy to receive any questions or any comments.
Peter, I've got one question. Where do you see a completion agreement on this? What's the time frame?
I'm back in a month where we're having another meeting. I said we would summarize what we have discussed in a document, which they will then reflect most likely their agreement to. They are a very willing party in this.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
I do need to, at some stage, this course extends to Buller and Westland too, but currently we're focusing on Grey. Yeah.
Very good. All right, action 2. Michael.
All right, so this was one we brought up last time, is prepare a paper on consent requirement for the rating districts regarding grandfather rights. So the paper is now presented in 9.1.
Yep.
What's been seen, Matt has already gone through this. I didn't know whether we should take it as read and stop, or do you want to go through it in the
We'll take it as read. Once read it.
Yes, and you had a presentation. It was Councillor Ewan asked me to make sure that I said I can present a paper, so I have.
Yep.
Whether you want to go through it at that stage, or we'll take that this section is closed.
This action is closed, I believe.
Right, going on to action 3, assets. Now, we've already, this is completed, so I'll just go through what we're doing. We think there's roughly 500 assets in the across the region. We've got a paper with how to manage that, so the area engineers will manage that according to this paper. So they're taken for review, not back.
That's 500 we know about.
500 we know about, and if I can just like reference control, re-up me the other day, they turned into 21. There was a lot of assets, so we'll take that when they come up, we'll resolve them.
Yep, good. Action 4.
Action 4, investigate feasibility of insurance. So there is a workshop, and if I could just point out that the workshop is actually on the 19th of May, and so we'll go through it there. So that's an ongoing action. Yep. Action 5, Tom, I'll get you to come and talk to this. So this is investigate options for more frequent alluvial monitoring at Kanjaki.
Thanks, Michael. So this one's in response to a query from Councillor Cole about our monitoring program for the Ocean at Waiho. I've gone back and had a discussion with Land Rover C about our current monitoring program. We agree that it is appropriate in its current form. However, we can supplement it by fortnightly monitoring of changes in lateral position and channel depth via scaling off of the images that we're collecting from the 2 new cameras that we've installed, one on the Hamels Wall and one on the church bank. So that could cover off those concerns, I believe. Thanks.
No, great. Thank you. Item 6.
Right, so this is one that Darryl was dealing with. It's sending a formal notification to no longer delay the Greymouth Stop Bank. So a letter was sent on the 29th, so the 16th of April. Okay.
No, that's excellent. Alrighty, can I please have a mover for the action list, please? Colin, seconder. Peter, all in favour? Rightio, Chair's report. I've just a verbal report. We've got probably 4 major items in the operations papers today. Friends 1 and 2. I class it as 1. And then we got Poke Tigger, Grey, and last but not least, Buller. So we've got quite a lot on the go still, and I just want to make sure that we monitor the costs of consultants, monitor the cost of increasing prices, which is no fault of any council in New Zealand, it's just fuel costs and inflation, and basically try and deliver what we've promised we're going to deliver on time and within budget. So it's pretty hard ask for some of these things to do, particularly with the increased costs of contractors, and it's just a cost that's going to be passed on. But you know, we just got to keep a close eye as councillors on cost, the ratepayers. Can I please have a mover for the Chair's report, please? Ashley, Chris, all in favour? Okay, go through the reports now. That's item 9, and it's the existing rights for flood protection structures. Are you going to talk to this?
This is what I said in the action log. This is what
Matt's not.
Matt's here. If you wanted to ask any questions, he has given a presentation. If you want to
It is 9.1. It needs to be moved and seconded. So do we want an overall quick overview from Matt on that? I think we do. Please. You scope there, Matt. Be fine. Thanks. Just a quick overview on that so that we're understanding how the land lies there, Matt.
Outside of the bed are covered as under existing use rights. Works inside the bed are likely to need resource consent.
Yep.
Permitted activity.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of permitted activity rules which cover off maintenance and rebuilding of structures.
So if there's any concern from any contractor or anyone that's doing something, it's basically just a call to the regional council to find out whether they need consent or they don't, basically. So they're not in breach. Yeah. Okay, that's good. There's nothing really much more to be spoken about that, is there?
Any questions?
Through the chair, Matt, how do you define the bed? What defines the delineations of the bed of a river?
The bed is defined under the Act as river at its highest flow without overtopping its banks, which can be a bit of a challenge. But in these cases where we actually have stop banks, it's pretty clear as to where the delineation is.
Yeah.
And it's basically if we're in flood flows, that is outside of the bed. So if the stop bank's sitting back from the normal fairway channel, but the fairway channel, they're under reasonable flows. So say a 1%. I believe something you can use as a rule of thumb.
Right.
That would be anything that's covered by water. There would be bed. Anything outside of that is section 9 land. So part of the Act.
Okay.
Daryl.
Well, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Councillors, I just wonder whether this paper should be attached in the next round of rating district meetings, perhaps, so that this advice gets to all the rating districts, just for their information. I think it's pretty straightforward and understandable, but I think it would help improve understanding the rating districts around the legal basis for consenting and existing use rights. So, yeah, just make that suggestion.
Sounds good. So there'll be a full paper go to the rating district.
Just the other
What
if it's on freehold land?
RMA is silent on who's the land. And so anything that's section 9 land use consent, so that's outside of the bed of the river, unless the consent specifies a duration of consent, and it lasts forever. if we've got a stream, even a stream on freehold land, the definition of bed is independent of who owns it.
So if the river's running there, that's good.
Very good, thank you. So can I have the 9.1 mover for that report?
Just before we move on.
Yes,
The legal description is winter freshets. From one side of the river to the other, so, the riverbed is, so we were saying between stop bank to stop bank, but it's, a winter freshet is the legal riverbed, so if you, want to do, say, put a rock groin in somewhere that rock groin is outside the normal winter freshet, then I would say that would still be allowed as a grandfathering clause because of existing user rights.
It's, the definition of bed is a challenge.
particularly on a very braided river.
Braided rivers are really key for that. And so that's part of our looking at how to address that through the planning documents that we have as well. But it's basically, the legal definition on the RMA is highest flow without overtopping banks, which is not that useful. Sounds good if you're sitting in a room talking about it, but not so good when
And is that based on an annual flush?
I would say that you use annual flood.
Sounds good. Yep.
Yeah.
Legally, they say winter freshet, so.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, Councillor Cole, I've never heard that. I'm not sure.
Okay, when we're doing
Come
it.
out in the 50s.
Yeah, could I clarify? Is it okay if I say just a sentence? Yeah, it is the annual fullest flow, as Mr. Smith has correctly said. And the annual fullest flow, if you look at river morphology, it normally is around about the mean annual flood. It could vary between a 2 and a 5, or an incised river much bigger, or these ones which have extensive floodplains, it could be a smaller flood. Yeah, but it's the mean annual flood. Yeah, roughly.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Yeah.
Any more questions on that, Alan?
I think I had a court case with you guys to define where the legal riverbed was at one stage. If you look at back, go back about 20 years or more, and I think the judge defined the river as where it flows in normal flow.
Right.
Go back and have a look at that.
Okay. You'd probably be familiar more than me, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate it. All right. Can I have a move for that report, please? Peter and Chris, all in favour? Okay, 9.2 quarterly catchment report status. Michael.
All right, can I,
Morning.
So the quarterly report just covers the time between February and April. In that time, we've done fair bit of work preparing for winter, both physical work and planning work. On the physical side, we've done the swamp clearing at Congahoo. The photos there and
It's good, yeah.
the description. There's quite a bit of vegetation clearance work taking place at the moment, both taking place in planning for. This is taking place at Nelson Creek. The important part here with vegetation clearance is understanding that is that the vegetation, the roots in the stop banks are detrimental and can have a negative effect on the stability of stop banks. Another important part is that during flood events, when the water is high, a very important part of what we do, we're out inspecting our assets, looking to see whether they're leaking or not, whether there's seepage through the stop bank. That's a requisite for a stop bank failure. Currently, we look with a lot of assets that have proper vegetation around them. When that happens, you can't see whether they're leaking or not. So it's certainly
Yes, please.
their assets back in good condition. Nelson Creek, vegetation. Also at Cobden, with a Port Division cut on it. Also, we've created all of our joint committee meetings and our rating district meetings. Out of that, there's something like 230 plus actions out of that. We managed to sign off about 144 of those, and there's 90 odd still to do.
No, excellent. We got any questions on that? On the river mouth openings?
Quarterly action.
Okay, sorry. Yeah,
I'll just make a comment.
yes,
If you've got any that's causing any issue, we should just go and clear it regardless. And this is what's been happening around the country. People have been dithering around and being flooded, regardless of what the rules and that are. If there is an issue, should be cleared immediately. Thank you.
noted. Okay, so that's 9.3, 3.1.
Sorry. If I want to ask a question.
Yes.
Wayne, how are we going with the issue that came out of the rating districts around insurance? Are we progressing that action?
That's kind of
So we're
a number of rating districts.
Yes,
Willingness to remain in the insurance.
yeah.
Understand that we're in the process of putting that together, making recommendations that the company.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if I could come in there. So look, just to summarise, there is a number of rating districts that have indicated that they wish to continue to remain insured. Some others that are perhaps questioning that, but not clear what their position is yet, and others that are saying they want to exit from insurance. At the end of the day, each of those rating districts make recommendations back to council. The overall decision is with council, just like setting the rates are. And to that end, I'll just invite Colin to talk about where we're heading on that, because we're heading into a workshop with councillors on insurance. And Colin.
And on the 19th of May, we've got a session with the council and Chantal will be presenting on insurance and giving a very good overview of what's allowed, what's required, and the insurance going forward with the conditions, etc. So that's in hand.
Thank you, Colin. So for those councillors that were here last triennium, it's largely an update of that insurance presentation that you received previously. But it is updated and upgraded from then. The reason why we're running it at the on the 19th for councillors is because we actually have to arrive pretty much in a position for the annual plan around setting the rates for all of the rating schemes, as well as what a decision on insurance. And so we workshop that, and then you'll be heading into adopting your annual plan, including decisions on those two matters on the 15th of June.
Thank you. Peter.
Just a comment and echoing Councillor Birchall's comments, on page 70 and 71, this was done 15 years ago, maybe more. We got an extensive list of river mouths to open that were.
We're actually that's actually 100% my fault. That's 9.3, Peter. We're on 9.2. So I actually jumped down here. So if you look at 9.2, that's what we're talking about now. 9.3 is river mouth opening. So I jumped the gun a wee bit there.
So did I.
We all did. So it's 9.2, sorry, Peter. Yeah, in a minute it will be 9.3.
Right, we'll go with.
All righty. And it's recommended that the committee to resolve and receive the report. Can I have a mover for it, please? Thanks, Andy and Colin. Thank you. All in favour? Right, we'll move on to your topic, Alan, Peter, Mark. There's 9.3. The other mouth openings. So, Michael, would you talk about that, please? We've already talked about it, but we'll talk about it again. And I'm actually in agreement with you too, Alan.
Right. So last year we got EnviroLink funding to get Richard Measures from NIWA or Earth Sciences New Zealand to give us advice on reviewing management practices and provide guidance on monitoring and whether mechanical intervention is warranted and at what point that should occur. So you've all got the report.
Yes.
I'm happy to take questions on it.
I've got one question, and I totally endorse councillor Birchfield and Ewan's comments. I think righto then, I can crystal ball that we need to prevent these river mouths from, well, open them before it becomes a major issue and before it becomes a major flooding issue, basically. I think, you know, a lot of this could be prevented right throughout New Zealand, whether it be a river bar, a blockage of whatever, whether it be a bird's nest, whatever it is. I think if we get in there mechanically remove that and keep the flow open, it's going to reduce the flooding throughout New Zealand and a lot. And they talk about logging and pinus logging. We haven't got a great deal of it on the west coast, got a bit more in Greymouth than we have in the Buller, but we have the same problems with native trees in the Buller, and it needs to be cleared out of waterways, native trees, etc. So I'm all in favour of being proactive than reactive. That was my comment, really, not a question.
You see in the summary program, there's actually only two river mouths that we have that we get involved with reopening. The rest, there's no funding to do that work. And there's these two, it's written into their asset management plans, so we can get involved. All the others, certainly the ops department don't get involved.
Yep. Any more questions from board? Yes.
Just a comment. I found the report very helpful for it in terms of the outcomes and, you know, anecdotally, having spent a lot of time in the river mouth in my lifespan in river mouths, I was very interested to see the position of the river mouth is very influential in terms of the issue. And that's something anecdotally that we know from our time around river mouths, where the river mouth is a pretty good indicator of whether we're going to have a blockage and also whether we're going to have build up behind as a consequence. So it's really very interesting to read that and see that the science is actually supporting the anecdotal evidence that you pick up over time. So very interesting report, very helpful.
So yeah, and we would have liked to have go to plan review and had some input into modifying the conditions to allow us to reopen the river mouth in its most hydraulically efficient area, yes, instead of where we're required to, which is where it last closed.
Yes.
So that's not ideal. What Richard Measures has recommended is that perhaps those like Karamea and River Saltwater, which is the Greymouth rating district, maybe look at getting a resource consent instead of using our permitted activity rule, which has that condition. That's something that we'll discuss with them because there's a cost associated with getting that resource consent.
Yes. And
the openings that we do are fairly sporadic and they can be years apart. So we've got to balance whether it's actually cost effective to pay for a resource consent, just manage it using the existing.
Yep. Thanks for that.
Peter.
Yeah, I just echoing what's been sitting on the table. You know, we went to some length with a lot of discussion with Doc in particular of a lot of these 15 years ago, and those ones on 70, 79, you know, it's worked well. You know, we've had a couple of issues with a couple, and as Paulette's just indicated, one of the problem ones. There was discretionary funding set when this first went in of 6K, I believe, that was floating there for any events and other ones. You know, I don't know what's happened to that. Is it still there? Is it, you know, it was meant to be there, it's just a sundry so we could get things cracking with these other ones. I distinctly recall, you may, it was 6,000 to me. So it was a one one in, one out. I mean, you could fix it. But, yeah, we self-helped on this one, and Doc were very helpful too, so we got about 40 plus there. Always want more. It's not exhaustive, but it was the ones that potentially the problem, I guess.
Excellent. That's a very good report. Have I got any other questions? Andy? Yeah.
Okarita is that a bit vulnerable at the moment?
Pardon?
Excuse me. Okarita hadn't got a resource consent for in 2013, and it's not a permitted activity.
That'll be a Paul question, not me.
There's no rating district there, so we've got no, we don't get involved. We did apply for funding to get, it was Murray Hicks to look at that and what potential triggers would allow that to be open, but that's really be up to the community to take.
So if there's a tomorrow and it needs opening, what's going to happen?
It's
Community.
Because I think that's Western Council were actually based out.
Sorry?
Yeah, like I think it's been mechanically opened a few times, isn't it?
Yeah, it has, yeah.
But if it gets blocked now, there's no consent to open up, and it's not a permitted activity, so are they in trouble?
So through the chair, so as Paul pointed out, we've got money for 2 rivers out of all of them. That's what we're restricted to. We're not spending ratepayers' money if there's no rating base for it.
Yep. So the answer to that question, Andy, you've got to be for the community to come to the regional council and see if they can get a result.
So yeah, well, do they need a permitted activity on it?
Imagine so.
That's the ones that
What's on?
is going to be discussed.
Yep.
Well, I think we do need to do something.
Okay. Is there any other questions on that paper?
Can I just clarify, was there any actions out of that? Because 4 of you spoke, 5 have spoken.
I think that Andy's concerns should be taken down as an action, but it's up to the community really, and that would not probably just be for that river too either, is that correct? The others?
There are a few others that the community have said that they'd like to include it.
Yeah.
So if I can be clear then, so you want me to take that away as an action to look at the non-scheme related river mouths, which is what Paul has said, is we will not be opening them.
I
You want me to confirm back that?
can circulate the report from Murray Hicks.
Yes, I think that would be, and there won't be financial assistance for that, because that's what we're saying, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it might.
Yeah.
He was.
But if they got the paperwork in place, whether it be a consent or a permitted activity, that there may not be financial assistance. Is that correct?
Chairman, I want to just comment here. Councillors, I'll just draw the connection to the series of workshops that you've been having led by Gavin Palmer. We were actually asking questions around, as we are at the moment, only restricting our river management and also our coastal mouth opening activities to where we've got actual rating schemes, and those rating schemes have indicated in the past where they want to spend money or not. So in those workshops, we've been asking the question, hey, do we actually want to have budget outside rating schemes to give general advice on flood protection works to people who are not in schemes and want to do private works? We want to have a budget there to provide advice. And now we're actually talking about opening river mouths outside of scheme areas, and do we want to assist financially or otherwise, even preparing consent applications on that. All of that costs money. We've got another one of those workshops coming up. That is a matter that we're going to formally ask of you if you want to consult in the long-term plan about whether you want general rate funding, like the 6,000 that might have been there, which I can tell you is not there anymore. That might have been there to put those sorts of things back, but that would generally come out of general rate rather than targeted rates, unless there's a specific conversation with a rating scheme to say, do you want us to expend money and put an asset management plan to open your mouths as and when required, or do you think that they're just going to blow out in a flood and they take care of themselves? And you don't want to spend, money on mechanical openings. So all of that is bundled up in that wider conversation, and it might be something that we actually formally consult on as part of LTP next year.
Thank you. Any other questions from Peter?
Part of that consultation's got to be with the district councils where these relate to, because at the end of the day, they'll be the first port of call for a lot of these communities. They'll have their civil defence people and all the rest. It won't be us. We may be down the track a little bit. Can we open something? But, I'd hate to see it that we have a bureaucratic issue that stalls a lot of these, because this could happen in an instant. So we've got to really have a talk with the district councils and identify the problem, show them this, show them what the issue is. Because whilst there's very few of these that are actually in rating districts, very few that are actually in rating districts. These are out on their own, they're on their own, So.
Very good. Colin?
Can I suggest that we deal with this matter?
I agree.
In the rate
Yep.
review process?
Yep. No further questions in? No, great report. Thanks, Paulie. Oh,
Just a comment to Daryl. How will the changes to the RMA affect things like this? Like being able to open a river mouth, the RMA is going to be loosened up, isn't it? That could help.
Mr. Chairman, firstly, what I want to say before I answer that question is that I want to be really clear, because I've heard a lot about, resource consents and, bureaucratic things getting in the way and just needing to do it. I want to be really clear. If there is a risk to life or property from flooding, that might be traced back to a mouth that we could mechanically open, we can always do that under section 330, which is emergency provisions of the Act.
Yep.
Okay. So I want to be really clear. If there was an immediate risk of life property, that the RMA does not get in the way. We'll get in there and do it as long as it's safe to get somebody on a digger, on a machine and get that mouth open. And sometimes that's not actually. So for the record, I want to say that and give you that undertaking that where that is clear and present danger, get into it. Okay. The second, now to answer your question, Councillor Birchfield, is that the bills that are going through the select committee at the moment are really dependent on national direction on a whole bunch of things, including national direction on a brand new coastal policy statement, all those sorts of things. That is not apparent yet, that national direction, and it's still to come. We'll watch what that says and we'll report back to you. But at the moment, we're in a holding pattern on what all that says.
Okay. Thank you. No more questions? No, thanks very much, Paulette, for that report. Could I please have a mover for that report? Andy, seconder, Colin, all in favour? Aye. Excellent. Item 10, Franz Joseph, stage 1. Scott, but we'll have Tom talk to this report.
Yeah, before we start on the individual project status reports, just wanted to make you aware that following a conversation with the chair and based on some feedback to other councillors, our intention is to move on at a project level and lift it up to a program level. Okay, so instead of getting 5 separate status reports at each operations committee report, you'll get a single program report. Now, in my role, I'm very heavily supported by Scott Novo projects for the IRG and RUF projects. We did have Scott online, he's disappeared. And then, of course, Phil Rossiter for Westport.
Morning, Phil.
Introduce Phil to Operations Committee. For those of you that haven't met him, Daryl and I have worked with Phil extensively in the past and have had him in on the Westport project for the last months and making really good progress in his role. For Scott, with that move from a project based reporting structure to a program-based reporting structure, this would be his last meeting. Okay. So I was hoping to be able to introduce him and let him talk to these ones one last time, because I know some of you have had quite a long association with Scott.
Yeah.
So with that, yeah, is he not? He joined before.
He was on earlier, yeah.
Okay, that's all right. Look, I'll start off and we'll move through.
Start on stage 1, Franz, Tom, and then stage 2, then Oki, then Gray, then
Mr. Chair, so with Friend Stage 1, the only point to note is the installation of the culvert. That's the last remaining item of physical work, and that's intended to happen in late May, early June, once the contractor has finished over the river at Milton and others.
So just through that 10.1 then is basically the culvert to complete, and that will be on job done. Yep. That's really that one. So can I please have a mover for that report, please? Franz Joseph. Okay, thanks, Alan. And a seconder. Thanks, Andy. All in favour? Excellent. We're going to Franz Joseph stage 2. Tom?
So a couple of key points here. Milton and others, councillors that were present at the joint committee meeting of March. The joint committee resolved to endorse the inclusion of a nominal raise to the Rata Mole section of Milton and others.
Yep.
So contract has been instructed on that one. Construction was commenced in late March and is expected to be complete late May.
So again, echoing again, late May, that should be completed.
That particular part of the project, yes.
And there's still more to go on stage 2, isn't there?
And that's leading into the next point, which is Havel's extension.
Yeah, that's, discussion, yep.
So the memo that we agreed to commission, the Western District Council carrying out a detailed analysis of the relative merits of 2 options for extending Havel's wall. That's been drafted and presented to WDC. The preferred option is the 200-metre extension on the same alignment. That will provide much more surety over some medium-term, short to medium-term security for the treatment plant and other property and infrastructure north of Havel's Wall. And we're continuing to work with WDC and other stakeholders on how to fund the local share.
Okay. All right. So stage 2, there's still a lot to be discussed on that, particularly the Havel's side of it. There's no resolve there at this stage. But as it sits at the moment, can I have a mover for the report that we've got in front of us?
I'd like to comment.
Yep, sure.
I thought the Havel wall thing had been put to bed. It's fairly obvious that the locals down there don't want anything to do with it or fund it. Western District Council don't. There's no support on this council either to spend all that money, from my understanding the last time we discussed it. So why does it keep reappearing? If there is an extension of Havel wall, that needs to be funded by the government. Now, I thought that's what you were going to do. You're going to approach the minister to get government funding. Why are we still harassing the locals to pay for this?
So Councillor Birchall, we're not harassing the locals in any sense or form on this one.
Well, that's what they think.
Okay, well, clearly we need to have another conversation with them, and we're trying to tee one up for later this week to talk about this specifically. We remain concerned enough about the risk, the threat to life and property on that lower end of the North Bank, that we are continuing to progress, trying to find alternative ways of funding the local share that don't impact on the ratepayer.
Okay, I've spoken this morning to one of the locals. they're definitely not concerned that there's any risk to anyone, in particular the sewage ponds.
So happy to take that opinion. That's not the advice that we're getting from our specialists. And that's the advice that I need to act on and present to you for your decision.
Yep. Appreciate it. Colin?
Look, I have been continuing to engage with the Western community, a long team here. We've got an obligation, Alan. If there are changes in circumstances, we've got an obligation to make sure the community are aware of those changes in circumstances, to give them the opportunity to then reassess their position based on the changed circumstances. So it's an ongoing conversation. So an ongoing conversation with Western District Council. Western District Council are not disinterested. They are an interested party, and we continue to have conversations with them to try and find a solution. And we are trying to find a solution that will satisfy all parties and avoid any undue risk to the community or its assets.
Okay.
To reassure Councillor Birchfield that it's not going to be rated. That's what we're trying to avoid. Is that correct, Tom?
That's what we're trying to avoid.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the main.
Thank you. Okay then, that's awesome. So for that, then can I have a mover for that report, please, and the seconder? Moved Ashley, seconded Peter. All in favour? Rightio. 10.3 Hokitika River Walls Operations Committee Project Status Report. Tom?
Mr. Chair, a nice wee milestone over the last period for Hokitika Stage 1B, where we've ended the defects liability period. All the defects have been addressed to our satisfaction, and the final completion certificate will be issued imminently, and final retention is released.
Brilliant. Right here.
For stage 3, we've got a review of the stock bank upgrade concept underway, which is taking into account the most recent seepage modelling work and some assessments of river velocity size. And we'll use that to confirm the scope that is to be taken into preliminary design and beyond. In the meantime, to satisfy our conditions of contract with Kānoa, we've initiated some vegetation clearance off that lower 300 metre section of the stock bank, and that commenced yesterday.
Brilliant. Excellent. Have I got any questions for Tom on Hokitika? Andy?
I just hope that removing that vegetation doesn't disturb the works clear.
As long as you don't touch the roof, you should be fine.
We've had to be very careful about that for a couple of 3 reasons, but that's very much the intention, Andy. Councillor Campbell, sorry.
No, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, dokie. Those received the report. Can I please have a mover for the Hokitika River Walls? Andy, sorry, Alan and Ashley. All in favour? Excellent. 10.4 Greymouth Operations Committee Project Status Report. Tom, I'll get you to talk to this.
116.
That's 10.4, Alan. 116 on your report. Yep. All right, here, Tom.
Thank you. I'll start with stages 1 and 3, as you heard from Michael earlier.
Yep.
We have sent a letter to WMS stating our intent to carry on completing upgrade, and instruction to complete that upgrade will be issued to the contractor shortly.
Good.
So we're working that work in and around stages 2, 4 and 5.
Yes.
Which I'll lead into now. So we've had a pre-start meeting with MBD on site.
Can I just ask you a question before you go any further with that? And I suppose it should have been a question asked with Hokitika as well. Has there been any callback to the regional council for any fuel adjustment factor on these jobs that we've approached going forward?
Not as yet.
Not as yet. They haven't.
So we've got only one contract
Yeah.
that allows for cost fluctuations due to fuel, and that's Friend Stage 1.
Hmm.
And
Need some contractors hurting them.
at the end of that job at the moment. All the other contracts are relatively short term.
Yeah.
So just a few weeks, noting that.
But that's something to be aware of too, though. I mean, at the end of the day, we've got some very good contractors on the West Coast from Haas to Karamea, and we need them.
Yeah.
We can't afford them to go broke. And particularly in an event, we need them there. So that we've got to be mindful as a council that there are going to be, particularly when it comes to Westport, there are going to be some price increases, unfortunately. Sorry, carry on, Tom.
Well aware of that, Mr. Chair, and the contract is backstop, and the relationship is the first priority.
Correct.
Approached, we'll consider it in all fairness, but straight out contractual perspective, we've only got one in place that does provide for fuel adjustments.
Thank you.
So stages 2, 4, and 5, which is Cobden stage 5 and Laketown stages 2 and 4. That pre-start meeting occurred last week, and contractor established on site at stage 4 between the Tristan Road Bridge and the Raleigh Street Rail crossing yesterday. So they're underway with that work now.
Question, Peter?
Just on the Westland Mineral Sands, we've got the message off to them that that's not going to happen. We're going to go on our alignment. I'd sooner that we don't chance a roll of the dice and we get that work done pretty pronto, because that's the week. But we've got many months out of it now, when it was only going to be a couple of months, and it was 6 months, and it was 12 months. Every month we take a bit of a gamble, and I'd sooner I'll be a lot more comfortable. We crack on with that one.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. And I'll take that message on board, and we'll open that conversation up and see what opportunities there might be to bring that work forward.
Brilliant. Any more questions for Tom on this, Premier? No. Anything more to add, Tom?
Nothing more, Raymond.
Okay, then, so 10.4 is the committee to receive the report. Can I please have a mover for that report, 10.4, Peter and Chris? Second it, all in favour? And Councillor Smith left the room if you noted. Okie dokie. Last but not least, 10.5, Westport Flood Protection Scheme Project Status Report. Yes, we'll have joint input here with Tom and Phil. Morning, Phil.
Morning.
So would you like to start the ball rolling, Tom, and then hand over to Phil as and when required?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'll speak to it. And
okay. Phil's here. Yep. No, good as gold. Thank you.
So the focus of this reporting period has been very much on project review activities. So pulling together all the investigation, design, consenting, and construction work completed to date, to review based on scope and budget from the business case against what work to date is telling us the scheme will need to look like if delivering to the intended level of service. So concurrent with that, there's a series of value engineering proposals have been developed or in the process of being developed to inform decisions about how we can deliver a scheme that is cost effective and achievable. So we expect to complete that review over the next reporting period, ready for discussion with the Joint Committee and Operations Committee.
So that'll be at the next Operations Committee meeting. Thank you.
Another business, we've got our Senior Project Manager in the form of Phil, well embedded. This week we're onboarding a new project coordinator who will pick up the work that to date has been delivered by project admin staff and a contractor. We've had the consent applications for Floating Lagoon lodged, and the placement of rock at O'Connor Home is ongoing.
No, thank you very much, Tom. Anything to add, Phil?
Nothing to add. Councillor McIntyre.
No. Thank you. Is there any questions to be had from Tom or Phil? Andy?
They're getting the consensus, is there going to be any hold-ups and then do they? Are they straightforward?
Nothing straightforward.
Nothing straightforward, Councillor Cameron, as I think we've established so far. But the work that the team has been doing in preparing those applications and proactive around with affected parties put us in the best possible place to get those advanced as quickly as possible.
Chief Executive, right word. No.
Just to update councillors that in response to a request from the Joint Committee, we've now reached agreement with Buller District Council and their membership and the community reps that we will now commence, because of the sheer amount of activity that's going on up there, quarterly Joint Committee meetings with the Joint Committee for Westport Flood Protection. So previously, like all the other joint committees, that's been twice yearly. They feel as though they want more updates, more information flows through to them, and that's in the diaries now as meetings.
Thank you, Daryl. And also quarterly meetings, but even when requested to. I appreciate it. Any questions from Tom?
Oh, just an update, the Avery's culvert situation, has that been resolved?
Bill, can I defer to you for the latest on that one, please?
Yeah, actually, just as I've been sitting here online, final signatures have landed for affected parties. So we expect that's been the hold-up point, Councillor Birchfield. So we expect that consent to cascade very quickly from here and be issued, which unlocks the pathway.
So just a comment, I suppose, on that, Phil, then that would be going to the original contractor that won that tender and see if there's any price variation on that before they kick off. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct, Mark. So I mean, contract's been awarded, it's been sat parked because of consenting, and Daryl has made it very clear around the Ops Committee's interest in cost fluctuations due to fuel, and so we're well aware of that. We just have not got to the point of materialising that yet and understanding what that means to come back to you because of the hold we've been on with consenting.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Councillor Cole?
Yeah, how the total expenditure to date is 6.6 million, and it's about 25% of the current budget. Does that include the Avery one? Is the tender price included in that, or is that
in that budget?
Yes.
That's a Tom question. That's a council.
Be added on to the
It's a me question.
That's a Chantel question. Morning, Chantel.
Morning. So the cost to date is actual expenditure that is left. It doesn't reflect commitments.
So that's conclude the Avery.
That includes expenditure to date on Avery's, but not,
Doesn't.
You said committed.
yeah, doesn't include
Contractual works.
The contract price. So the contract price is included in the original budget, but we haven't expended the cash yet, so it's not reflected in the 6.5 mil expended to date.
But does it reflect the purchase of the culvert? That's separate.
Yes, it doesn't reflect the purchase of the culvert, but not the physical works.
Yeah.
I'll just make a comment too, Chantel. There's also quite a lot of concrete equipment stored in my yard that's also included in that expenditure too. Is that correct?
Correct. So, costs expended to date include those hard concrete culverts and what have you, and there's also some portable barriers that are included in there. What's not included is the physical contracted works, because those haven't been undertaken yet.
So the contractor that's doing the job is not included in that price.
Oh, there's an awful lot of money that's been spent for what we've got.
Okay. Have I got any more comments, questions? Andy?
Kiwi Rail playing ball there or not?
We've got them in the right ballpark. Any other questions? Okay, can I please have a mover for this report, 10.5? Alan, thank you. Seconder? Collins? All in favour? Thank you very much. I'll make a motion that we move into public excluded, please. I'll have a mover for that. Andy? Seconded Peter, all in favour? Right, we'll go off live streaming now, please, Chris. Included, we're back in public included. Thank you, everyone. That's if you're still watching online. Time is 1 minute past 11. We've finished our business in public excluded. Nothing to report. I'd like to declare the operations meeting closed. Yeah. 1 minute past 11. Thank you.
Ready when you are, Chris. All right, welcome everybody, those in attendance and Lauren here today, and also all online. First of all, the first matter we need to deal with is apologies. Do we have any apologies?
Francois, I think, on the operations meeting was an apology, so I take it here be an council apology.
Thanks, Councillor McIntyre. Any other apologies? Right, do we have a move for those apologies? Thanks, Councillor McIntyre. Mr. Cole, all in favour? Yes, motion carried. Okay, declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest? Okay, public forum, petitions and deputations, Enviro Schools presentation. Lauren, would you like to come up and join us over the table here?
I'm just gonna put it, there it is. And here.
Sorry, Lauren.
That's why I was getting so.
Cool. Kia ora koutou, ko Lauren Kelly tōku ingoa. Thank you very much for having me here today. I appreciate you probably got quite a busy agenda. So I'll just take a few moments of your time to tell you about the Enviro Schools program and why we're asking for regional council support. So next slide, Chris, please. Start with some background. Enviro Schools is a nationwide network of over 1,600 schools and early childhood centres. On the West Coast, we have 25 Enviro Schools, which is nearly half of all of our West Coast schools and early childhood education. With over 2,000 students plus school staff and whānau, we reach around 26% of the regional population directly and more people indirectly through our community connections, our projects, and our media. Our current regional partners are the Buller, Grey, and Westland District Councils, plus Stop West Coast, and we're supported nationally by the Twin Master Foundation. And this map just shows our geographical spread. So we have an Enviro School in Karamea, all the way down to Haast, rural and urban schools in between. Next slide, please. Your regional council policy statement highlights some clear priorities for the West Coast. Things like protecting water quality, safeguarding biodiversity, and building resilience to natural hazards, all while supporting sustainable land use and community well-being. Enviro Schools brings these priorities to life in schools and in our communities. We empower young people to take real action, from restoring ecosystems to changing everyday behaviours that impact on our environment, and being excited to share their learning with others, which is a real important part of our impact. It's an effective way to achieve long-term environmental outcomes by building the knowledge, skills, and the behaviours that underpin these outcomes in your planning and supporting the next generation to become confident leaders. Thanks, Chris. We have a proven impact model. Schools across the nation are already engaging in Enviro Schools and West Coast Enviro schools have been taking action for the environment for more than a decade. A good example of our impact is our community-wide ripple effect. At Lake Canary, for instance, the Property Owners Association has teamed up with 2 Enviro schools to help them trap and reduce introduced predators. Canary school students started by learning about the project in their class and through their curriculum learning. And now they've gone on to help the group track introduced pests through tracking tunnels. And Westland High School students are setting up an entirely new trap line to help the group amplify their trapping. This is a long-term project that impacts not only the pests and the native birds, but also engages the wider community through the schools and amplifies the action of a very small group. Over 80% of councils nationwide already support the Enviro Schools program because they see real value in it. And I've just got a couple of maps here. This one shows the regional councils around the Motu that support Enviro Schools, and the district councils. And some of these have been supporting the program for more than 20 years. And they do that because they see real outcomes and successes. Thanks, Chris. And this is a visual of our model and how we work. It shows how we're able to reach so many people and achieve such great outcomes. A regional council partnership would come in here as part of the regional network. Investment is amplified through the active participation of schools and ECE centres and the participation of the wider community. In terms of the value of this whole model of support, the investment from councils is around 1/3 of the total, with the rest coming from central government and from the community. We also promote equity and inclusion. We provide access to environmental learning to a wide range of schools, from urban to rural, and we have an emphasis in our kaupapa on respect for diversity and supporting Mātauranga Māori in connection. Thanks. We'd love an opportunity to grow our network, to bring more schools on board, and increase our actions with support from the council. Regional council partnership could enable us to do things like add additional facilitator time to support schools, provide more student-led environmental actions and events, extend professional learning for teachers, and support for school projects. This work supports the development of capable, connected, and environmentally conscious young West Coasters who feel a strong sense of belonging, have pathways into local employment, and feel empowered to stay here to lead and contribute to their community and to respond to any environmental or economic challenges that arise in the future, because they will arise and we need to be ready. This slide just shows some of our recent actions and successes, the things that schools have been up to. Maruya School spent an entire year last year learning about their local awa, Station Creek, and they created an entire wall in one of their classrooms about everything that they had learned and how it connected to other learnings and things in their curriculum. Southwestern Area School recently held a community health day. It was a huge success. They had families involved. They planted trees. They learned about how the environment affects their mental health and well-being. Not your average school day. Westland High School students have been out at Kokataki supporting local farmers to plant out waterways, which they've recently fenced off on their farms to try and improve riparian planting and bring back. And I could go on. There's heaps happening all the way from Buller down to Haast. But I think that's probably all I have time for today. So just next slide, Chris.
So, thanks, Lauren.
Yeah, I've just got a couple of quick things. If you'd like to find out more, we have a great website, enviroschools.co.nz. We also have a quarterly newsletter for our local schools and events. And if you want to find out, that's the QR code. Scan that with your phone. And on Facebook, we have a Facebook page, Enviro Schools Te Kai Opotini. So I'm happy to take any questions. And I also have some flyers with information and with my contact details.
Thanks, Lauren. Through the chair. One question, what's the Tuamata Foundation? Who was that?
Yeah, Tuamata Foundation is based in Hamilton. They're funded through the Ministry for the Environment, and they are an umbrella organization for Enviro Schools.
So they government funded?
They're, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
1 and 2 schools aren't involved. Is that because your funding doesn't allow you to reach
That's
all
correct.
schools, or they choose not to be involved?
No, that's correct. So our fund covers 2 part-time facilitators, myself and my colleague Laura. And we just don't have time in our day to support all schools, but we would love to.
So there's schools there that aren't currently able to access the service because the funding doesn't allow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, not from me. I just, Peter, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just see that Development West Coast, you know, put some funding to career events, and that seems about it to me. No, I believe they are sort of a funding source for this sort of thing. I really, we're not passive in the engagement with connecting to communities regarding schools and community. We've got AgFest, we've got the biosecurity. I think we're just a phone call away from attending any forum that requires advice, requires a presentation. We've got a lot of funding that we're concentrating on. The one plan involves a lot of environmental stuff. We engage with federated farmers, Westland Milk, for on-farm environmental improvements, excellence. I just struggle with, even though the funding's minimum, I just struggle that, we can't be everything to everyone when we've got an agenda on our plate. It's pretty extensive going forward.
Yeah, can I reply?
Yeah, sure.
I totally understand that as a ratepayer myself. But I think the real success of EnviroSchools has been that we're specifically designed to meet local and regional government outcomes, and we help you guys to sort of amplify your reach by being in schools and reaching communities. And we also serve as a connector. So often teachers say, we want to do something in the outdoors, we want to learn about our river, but we don't know how, or we don't know who to contact. So we help put schools and teachers in touch with the right people, and we go out and support them outside the classroom.
Andy?
Well, I'm a bit worried about brainwashing little kids, because my granddaughter come home to their dairy farm and told their parents that they shouldn't be farming, and what they taught her was wrong. And they actually had to go to the headmaster and give him a lecture there. So, and that's what they're doing to all these little kids, and then they think everything's bad. And we got no control of what they're teaching them. So,
Lauren,
we've got to be very careful about that.
you want to answer that question?
Yeah, we work with local farmers as well. I'm not sure what school that is or if it was an Enviro school, but we totally want feedback from the community. We want to invite parents and farmers and community groups in to provide real on-the-ground education for our students so that they're ready when they go out into the world to understand these things and to be leaders. And yeah, so happy to receive feedback if you like.
Alan?
Yeah, I've got a similar thing. Kids coming home from school, brainwashed, bird fields and Bathurst are destroying the environment. That sort of nonsense. So they really should be teaching the kids business skills, be preparing them better for life. Thank you.
I got one follow-up comment for that and a recommendation for any, what's the right word without saying the wrong word? Person that's concerned about the environment to, including kids. I think it'd be one of the best field trips I'd ever do is to get on Mickey Ryan's bus and do a tour around Stockton to see what's been environmentally done there, and that would stop a lot of the naysayers environmentally, and kids to be the best day's education they could have. And I'm no doubt Birchfield Mines could do the same thing to see what they are doing for the environment. Like Stockton looks like a lunar landscape. They can't even bury people up there in the early days. And now it looks like an oasis up there. So I think education-wise, that would be a great thing for kids to be doing, not just in the Buller, West Coast, and outside the West Coast to see what people actually do on the West Coast. Yep, thank you.
completely agree. The New Zealand curriculum is deficient in teaching people how to run businesses and come out the other end of the university or school, all those things, and actually have that skill set element. But and aside, I see this as similar to McDonald's make it click. The kids are learning things, and the examples you have may or may not be linked to enviro schools or not. My lived experience with our son is he's teaching his grandparents great new things they can be doing in that space. We haven't seen any negativity, not to say that it doesn't happen, or certain teachers with certain bias will be favouring different things outside of a program like this. But we've seen really great outcomes from it personally. I'm quite supportive of the work you guys do, Lauren, and impressive to see the outcomes you're achieving for $150,000 a year. Yeah.
Thanks, Ash. And
Can give a quick example about financial literacy, if that's okay.
yeah, sure. Yes, sir.
Just one example, at Kiramia Area School, the students have been, they started a veggie garden and they did all of their maths and geometry, measuring it out and building it, concrete and everything, filling it with soil. And now they're doing financial literacy. They've started a small business through the garden, and they compost and they sell the worm tea and they sell the vegetables and they send vegetables home with the families. And that's all maths and financial literacy through that.
That's all part of enviro schools.
That's part of enviro schools, yep.
Chris?
My worry is that from a ratepayer's point of view is that at the moment, 3 councils are rating their ratepayers for funding for the enviro school, and regional council will be going back to those same ratepayers and almost like double jeopardy, getting extracting from their rates more funding for virtually the same thing.
I can answer that as well. So the funding that we receive from district councils is through the waste levy, which is from Ministry of the Environment. So councils choose how they spend that waste levy funding, but it has to be spent on environmental education and reducing waste. So so we're helping do that and reducing costs to district councils through the waste levy funding.
So it's not coming from ratepayers.
No, that particular funding stream is not. So that
Okay.
100% of our district council funding on the coast is from the waste levy.
Yeah. And can I just add into this conversation? When I was chair of the prior board of trustees, prior school was an enviro school. And we've got a very, very important blue penguin colony along this coast here. And what enviro schools did is it encouraged the kids to understand the importance of the biodiversity in the area here. It also it encouraged the kids to understand what the effect of pest species and their impact on our biodiversity. It taught them all sorts of practical skills, like we had them involved in trapping, stoat and rat trapping along this coastline here to protect the penguin colony. So as Lauren said earlier, they're not only learning about their environments and the importance of pest management, and we are just now doing a review of the regional pest management policy, so very pertinent. But it also taught a whole lot of practical skills around building traps, establishing traps, maintaining traps, and also we did a lot of invasive weeds species removal, replacement with native plants, etc., etc. So what really impressed me was the multiplier effect we get. For every dollar we spend on an activity like enviro schools, we get a significant multiplier in terms of outcomes for our ratepayers. So for every dollar, we get a significant multiplier in terms of outcomes for our communities, for our kids, and for our ratepayers. So I've seen a really positive benefit of engagement with enviro schools, and that's from a personal perspective, having been involved. Any other questions? Not right. Okay. I'd just like to remind all councillors too that Shanti has a paper on this further on this subject. So Lauren, thanks very much for coming along today and presenting to us. Very much appreciated, and you're welcome to stay. It's a public forum.
Cool. Thank you very much for having me, and I welcome Corero at any time.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Are there any late items? No late items? All right. Moving on to the minutes of the 7th of April 2026. Do we have any amendments or corrections to those minutes? Okay, it's recommended the council resolves to confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 7th of April 2026 are a true and correct record. Do I have a mover for that? Thanks, Peter. Seconder. Thanks, Alan. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. There are no action lists, so we move on to the chair's report. And just in the intervening period since the last council meeting, I have continued to focus on gaining a more comprehensive understanding of council's operational activities and our team supporting each aspect of those operational activities, as well as community and stakeholder engagement relating to such activities. The value of that community stakeholder engagement cannot be overstated, as it provides a valuable window into the issues and concerns our community and stakeholders have on issues that we're addressing at the time. And two of the highlights in recent times would be the involvement with the community engagement that was associated with the Westport evacuation plan rollout. That was an incredibly successful event and really spoke volumes for our team, our operational team working in that area. Also, recently I've been involved with Shanti and the environmental science team in terms of the regional pest management policy review and the community engagement involved around that. And it's really interesting, as councillors, sometimes we have a specific view of what may be, in our view, the main issues for our community. But the one thing that I've noticed with these community engagement sessions, sometimes our thinking can be out of line with our community. And so it's really, really important. The one thing that's driven home to me is it's really important that we as councillors stay very closely engaged with our communities and really understand what is a priority to them at any particular given point in time, because priorities can shift over time, and if we're not connected to our communities, we don't see that shift. So really encourage all councillors to stay well engaged with your communities. So it is recommended that council resolves to receive the chair's report.
I'm happy to move the chair's report.
Thank you, Mark. Seconder. Thank you, Chris. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. All right, on to reports and 9.1 Enviro Schools Partnership Proposal. Shanti, to you.
This partnership proposal is taking a decision from council to become a funding partner of the Enviro Schools Initiative. You heard from Lauren earlier, who gave a really good overview of what the Enviro Schools contributes to our region. In the paper, I've provided a bit of a current situation of Enviro Schools, the programs it supports, and also local examples provided by Lauren. And then another overview of our current engagement with schools, which is very ad hoc and reactive. We respond by request and we have no dedicated resources to learning. But we do try and respond to education as resourcing allows us. There's some examples provided for you there as well. Just some budget context for you, the Regional Council does not currently have any dedicated budget for environmental education or structured school engagement. So this extra funding would need to be either a diversion from the current operational budgets or an addition into the long-term plans. I've provided you with three options there. The first one being a status quo, business as usual. that basically gives you positive and negatives of that and the cost implications, which are none. Option 2, funding environment schools through reprioritisation of funding. I've proposed $10,000 as a baseline, which you can have as a discussion, and I'm happy to answer questions on that as well. And option 3 there is to fund environment schools through the LTP, which would result in a year delaying of becoming a partner for the project. Happy to answer any further questions on the report.
Any questions, councillors?
Shanti, option 2 with the $5,000 reallocated from 2 different pools, why were those specific areas picked over others?
So these were areas that we were increasing work next financial year. So it's in addition to what we did this year. So we're not going backwards in those programs. And there were some with his plant management, the result of reducing that is just to reduce the landowners. But that's quite easy to scope up and scope down, as opposed to really like rigorous monitoring programs. And the air quality survey, again, we do spatial surveys. It's not statutory linked either, so it doesn't provide any legal risk to reallocating fundings of those 2 options. Yeah, it's a hard decision to figure out where, but those make the most sense for the least risk.
So supplementary to that, why would then option 2 not be preferred for the report?
Because we have planned to do that work.
Yeah.
So
could be a true cost to ratepayers and loss of service to go with option 2.
Yeah. And again, you know, option 2 and 3 are both reasonably suitable. We have to choose one. Proposed option 3, but that's open for councillors' discussion on what the way forward.
So is that through the chair, is that the budget shortfall you feel or not?
Budgeted shortfall, yep. So we haven't budgeted for this work in the annual plan.
From borrowed schools.
So we talked to Lauren, and she thought that 10,000 would be able to support her to do a lot more work. Councillors could talk about slightly lower amount, and I can talk with Lauren about what she can deliver for that. I think she's open to any amount of funding.
That's their budgeted.
Because
My reaction is that my feeling is that a reactive process is not such a bad thing, because it's already identified there's a need that somebody's identified at school that they would like to talk about. So reacting to that is actually identified a need that school wants, whereas by just giving them $10,000, for example, we don't have any say over the direction we would like the money to be targeted.
Like some comments on that. So one of the benefits I see is administration help. So we don't currently have any administration staff in our entire department. So actually contacting schools and getting hold of them and finding out who wants the information is very difficult for us. And so what the Enviro Schools can do for us is we can say, hey, we're working on this project. We think we can provide some education skills. She can put out to her networks, and then they can assess whether they've got need, as opposed to schools having to guess what we might be able to deliver, which is our current approach. So schools are missing out on educational opportunities because they're not being proactive. Whereas this would move us into more of a, hey, we're doing continuous monitoring and grey mouse, and we could involve schools in that entire project. But right now, we don't have the ability to contact schools and let them know that there is that opportunity.
CEO, I'll get other councillors asking questions. Okay.
Like, isn't this something Doc does? Is there an educator?
I think, Lauren, can you answer that? Is it?
We do also partner with DOC. They provide some funding for us to do some educational opportunities on their behalf. And we also work with them in connecting schools with DOC rangers. But I think DOC has a capacity issue as well, just like so many organizations around the country. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Shanti, just a question, Cameron Darrell. So if we went for option 3, we include this funding in the next long-term plan, Does that mean we're consulting with the community on this as part of the LTP? Yeah.
It is definitely an option. You could also decide to go with option 2 and become a partner, but to revisit it and consult on it for LCP. So have it as a year pilot. Does it work? What would it achieve for our organisation to add value? And then we'll have some good information to becoming a long-term partner.
Yeah. Any other questions, councillors? Okay. Carol.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to make some comments. And the first comment, of course, is this is a funding decision and potentially a reprioritisation or an LTP conversation. So that's a governance decision with you, and that's your decision. I'll confine my comments to the benefits of environmental schools. I've been involved in 3 separate regional councils: Wellington, Otago, and Hawke's Bay, and just about all the regional councils, and certainly those 3 that I've worked at, have been a partner with Enviro Schools, and have over many years that I've worked in those schools, those councils, received the feedback and the reports from Enviro Schools as a result of the funding investments those 3 councils have made. I can confirm that in my experience, the benefits that have been talked about of Enviro Schools here today are real, and other councils have been absolutely convinced of them and have continued their financial partnership with Enviro Schools. But again, it's a funding decision, but the benefits are real. The next comment that I'd make is that Enviro Schools educate on a number of matters in their curriculum. Conservation matters are with the Department of Conservation, yes, and that's why DOC on the West Coast is a funding provider. But also the district councils, a lot of their interest is in waste minimisation and recycling, and they run the landfill, so they're involved. And of course, the regional council, could be involved because of our environmental work. So the fact is that the Enviro Schools encapsulates all of that, and that's why in just about all other regions there are multiple partners that pay an amount commensurate with their interest in the programs, and it's a multi-funder arrangement. The next comment we're going to make is that probably the West Coast Regional Council, because we're the smallest and most challenged with our rating base, does not have programs like this. Many other regional councils do. But the last comment I want to make is that in all the other councils that I worked at, the 3 other councils, they reached a crossroads because a lot of them actually started environmental education as a general rate funded payer effort, and were doing that in the 1990s and early 2000s. They then decided in all of those 3 cases that regional councils were not specialist educators or trained teachers, and to do this well, you need to have that background and that basis, and preferred much rather to be a funder of Enviro Schools in the delivery of that environmental education and partner with them. And if the educators actually needed some specific collateral or material that's specific to the region, that's where we could actually provide it. But they chose to get out of the business of funding their own educators and actually go in with Enviro Schools as the delivery arm of that. Last thing I'd say is that the amount of money that's being recommended here, but it's up to council to or not, is rather modest. It's not extensive, but I'm sensing there's a bit of a philosophical debate that might need to go on here. But from a funding and a level of service, I think we could accommodate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Carol. All right. No further questions. All right, I'll put the recommendation as per 9.1. It is recommended that council resolve to receive the report, 2, approve West Coast Regional Council becoming a funding contributor to Enviro Schools West Coast at a level of $10,000 per annum, 3, include this funding in the next long-term plan as a new operational budget line?
I propose an amendment to that.
Absolutely.
What Shanti said around the inclusion of this year as a trial, I like that approach. We've got those $265,000 in after's reallocations, give us a chance to hit the LTP with this is what's been achieved in the 11 months we've got in that period. I'd happily move that motion with that included.
Okay. Do I have a seconder?
Yeah, happy to second that.
Happy to second that?
Yeah, with that amendment.
No.
Yep.
Right. All in favour? Aye. All in favour, raise their hands. Yes. Motion carried. Okay. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Shanji. And thank you, Lauren.
Very much.
Okay, 9.2 annual plan. Colin. Yes, absolutely. And you're going to speak to us about the annual plan as well.
That's right, yes.
Right.
Like to, format I propose to follow within the session is I'll introduce the subject, give introductions, Karen then will get into the annual planning process. When we come to the prospective financial accounts, I'll take you through that part. But first of all, what is happening getting us to this point? These are draft, and at this point, I'd like to, Fiona's online, so she's done the modeling and really the financial workings. A big thank you to her. Karen's really kept us honest on the process, and I think that's around the table here. And just the general organisation, including council, there's a lot of workshops. On that note, I'll hand over to Karen.
Thank you. Yeah, so recap. So yeah, that is keeping, as Colin just outlined, my role has been to work with our finance team. And I just want to reiterate that Fiona Ferraro has done the legwork on the finances here as our financial manager, and that's why she's joined us online. And that we've been doing this for 4 months. So I've come to you already for your direction at 3 different points in this process. So there's workshops, and we managed to stay under workshops because in one of the workshops we sought direction from council about scale of change, and you agreed that we would not significantly change from year 3 in the long-term plan, which meant that we didn't have any change proposals to consult on with the public. So we stayed true to course as a business as usual annual plan. So that's how we get here, as this being the first public meeting, is to present the plan as it sits today from the direction. This is an opportunity for councillors for you to identify any other matters that that can be incorporated into the annual plan, and then following this meeting, we will make final updates to the document and deliver it back to you for adoption on the 16th of June. So through the chair, I thought we could initiate opportunity for council to identify other matters by going through the document, not in detail, but just some key points in it, if that's okay.
Sure.
Right.
Through the chair, Colin, page 19. you have a lot of perspective statement of financial position. That's all on track. Can you sort of probably not break it down anymore, but
Can I make your point? Can I get that point and take you through the statement of the beginning?
yeah, sorry.
Page is that?
That was page 35 in our book.
There we are.
So just to respond to that, so the numbering is slightly different. So on the agenda, there's different numbers, so we'll refer to the agenda number rather than the plan numbering. That's and the other be a lot easier. So the green numbering.
Green numbering, yeah.
Yeah, as you did just then.
Yep.
So I thought so I took a little while there, but Colin will talk to the financial changes as we go through.
Right.
So just to set us up a little bit about the structure of that, we move through it. We'll receive this. I'll go through some of the key matters in the plan, and then you can add the questions as we go along.
I suppose my question would relate to page 33.
And we will definitely get
Just embarrassed about page there, page 25.
You're quite intelligent, that recently.
We'll just stay there for a little while.
Get the spelling.
Pardon?
Like to get the spelling right.
Oh, I beg your pardon. What spelling is incorrect?
C-O-L-E instead of C-O-L-L.
Oh, okay, that's the first correction. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
It's not your, it isn't. So just to recap on the key projects which we had in our last workshop, so the third workshop, the minor changes that have been identified in the annual plan, so they weren't significant changes, but they were minor changes. They are identified here in this section in the text, and they include timing adjustments for delivery of work. That's the key things that they include. So, and then in terms of other changes to address volatility and cost, which happens after we set in LTPs 3 years ago, we have to look at what the current climate is. So those cost volatilities are reflected in the financial impact statements in the later part of the plan, which is where we'll get to page 33 and we'll go through those. But the other change, as you know from previous documents, is that we have landed a concise document because we have to change or duplicate what was in the long-term plan. We didn't need to carry through all the activity group statements in that large section of plan. So that's the other changes that we're relying on. LTP as stands. That's the other change there. And then just sorry, Fiona, did you want to add something there?
My apologies. I just picked up a typo. I hadn't realised it on page green 29.
Yeah.
Should we refer to the prospective statement of comprehensive revenue and expenses instead of expensed?
Thank you.
My apologies for that coming up.
No, that's all right. This is what this is for. We need to pick up these things. So, yeah, so just going through that, as a reminder that one of the key things, the decisions that were made early in the process, it was in workshop 2, was how to fund the changes, being the volatility of costs. And that's where we went through the budget. We were on budget version 2 at that point and identified that with our aim to meet what was in the long-term plan of 7.5% rates, the changes were going to lead to up to a 15% increase. So we needed to work out how to fill that gap, and options were evaluated, and the council directed that we would do that through using the council's investment fund. So that's that section there where it says funding the changes. No comments on that.
Not on that one.
Okay, cool. And then, if just bear with me, the key elements of this plan. The next slide there. So the first bubble, 26.9 million. So this increases costs from the previous year from 23.97 million to 26.9. And in the next two bubbles underneath, the 74.5 full-time and permanent staff who are paid for by general rates, and across the 29 full-time permanent staff funded through other rates, not funded by general rates, so grants and targeted rates, etc. The movement there is it's pretty stable, I would say. There's actually slightly numbers than last year, because the staff numbers grew in the previous year. So, seeing that. And yeah, and I'll pass to Colin at that point to talk through the financial changes.
Yeah, thank you, John. And we take your question when you get on page 33. Now, this would like to start with the finances. These are a set of prospective financials, and it really tells the community and the council organisation is how much money we expect to receive through our revenue, how much we expect to spend, what we plan to invest in, and that will be our banks, what we borrowed from, or what we expect our borrowings to be, and what our financial position is going to be at the end of the year. So it really gives a story, a narrative story through figures on how we're planning to deliver our services into the 26-27 year. In preparing the prospective financial statements, we comply with the Local Government Act, so we've got the tick for that, and we've got our accounting standards, the New Zealand GAAP, which is the general accounting practice, and other legislations we've cognizant of and prepared it in that basis. I think the question coming to at this point, what I'd like to go through now is from a operating position of profit and loss. We're expecting to get $39 million worth of revenue over this financial year, and our expenditure will be $26 million. We'll say $27 million, and you'll see that results in quite a large surplus of $12 million. Now that is very much driven by the capital subsidy that you're going to be getting through our capital projects. So if we go back to our quarterly financial results that we presented in this council, that's coming up in one of the reasons why we underspent for this year is because of the timing of the capital projects, and that there we plan to spend. So that's the reason why we've got such a large surplus. Does it mean we reduce rates? No, it doesn't. If we look at our balance sheet, we've got a solid balance sheet and a sound balance sheet through next year. And it's really represented by our asset base of 280 odd million. We've then got liabilities of 47 million, but our equities to 41 million, and that has reserves included in that as well. So it's got our normal. Yes, over to you.
I'll stop you there, just before you go too much further on. So you go back to page 33.
Yes.
And you've got your revenue stream coming in, and you've got investment drawdown of 4997.
Yes.
Coming in as contract income.
Correct.
Then what source of investment portfolio has it come out of?
All right, so the investment income, so that would be a combination of JB Ware movements across the portfolio.
Yeah.
That totals 892,000 of that.
Yeah.
We're then looking at our contract income, and this is the work that we deliver to third parties,
Was that like through BCS?
Correct, that's the VCS, and Fiona's, I'm surely listening to me very intently, so if I go wrong, I'm sure her hand will go up. But we've got 1.9 million of contract revenue or income coming in.
Yeah.
And that's across 2 contracts. We've got a further 1.3 million, and this is for Grave Valley North, coming in, and that's, we put in there, we sort of wanted to, there's a bit of work to be done in that, but positive. And then we've got funding.
Hang on, where's that coming from, sorry?
Finally, Grave Valley North, the contract work we do.
Oh, yep. So that's through BCS?
That's right, yep.
Yep.
And then there's some funding through the Kinga of 150K.
Right, and that comes to your 4.9.
That does, and then we've still got 2 lots of other contracting revenue of about 452. And then we've got movement through the JFD revenue, and this is, I said the H2.
So my question is then, what percentage or what are you reducing by our investment fund by in dollar terms on this here? Because it's all sort of put together as a number, not as a breakdown.
It's $708,000.
It's coming out of our investment.
To support our operating, that's right. So if you think we've got an operating result of 15%, we will actually rate.
Yep.
We said we're going to hold it to the 7.5.
Yep.
So that
800K basically.
708,000 is
Yep.
the 7, keeping it to the 50% down to 7.5.
Yep.
And that's the gap.
That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Sorry for that. Well, it's detailed.
That's what I wanted. Thank you.
All right. So
Excuse me, can I just add to that? Sorry. That is
Go
in
ahead,
addition, that is also in addition to the annual expected profit of the fund that we also have reduced from the fund. So that amount is 900,000.
So basically it's going to self-fund itself.
yes, sort of. We're going to be in surplus of 200,000.
Yeah, it's going to self. No cost. Yeah. Yep.
That's our position. So coming back to here, so our balance sheet remains solid going into next year. If we have a look at our cash flow, we're also able to meet our short-term or our cash commitments to our creditors. We've got accelerated or capital plans. We'll be able to pay those creditors and suppliers. So from a governance perspective, we meeting our going concern concept. And from a prudence benchmark, we've got a number of measures that we need to achieve. The first of all, our rates increase. We talked about 7.5, which reached our long-term plan. Our debt affordability, we've met the criteria for that. So we comply to that. Our balanced budget, we've budgeting a slight surplus. So we've ticked that box from the governance. And our debt servicing, we meet the benchmark as well. But on those high-level KPIs, we satisfy the requirements, being a government or a public entity.
One small question, just while you're there on your cash flow.
Your cash flow, yes.
Yeah, 3 ebbs and flows with rates, demands, and that. Are you able to fund that internally, or is this externally funded?
The operating.
Correct. Cash flow on your operating cash flow.
All right. Yes.
Can you fund that internally, or is there external funding going on that?
That's there. So if you look at the first line, you're referring to the 12.99.
Yep.
Yep. So that there is all internal funding.
Yes.
The operating entities. If we then go to our cash flows from investment.
Yes.
That goes to our capex. But what we are looking at this here to fund our capex, and we are looking at proceeds from borrowing.
You are borrowing. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So going through all our cash flows at the end of the year,
yes,
of June, we're looking at a positive cash flow of 267.
Yep.
All going around. And in saying that, the fortune in a challenging environment, timing becomes key in that.
Yeah.
But from a financing through the LGFA, we have enough headroom to draw cash down to meet our capital commitments.
Cool. That's a question. Awesome. Thank you.
Any further questions if I go? Yes.
Councillor.
Just looking forward here, we're pretty close to the win with our 27 million spend. What's the implications if we go to the over the 30 million spend with projections for we're short on the consultant fees for Westport, capital wall gets built, fuel prices, other things that top that up to over 30 million for the next year. Unforeseen things, but we are pretty close to the tier 2. What's above tier 2? What's the implications there if we tip over?
If we get above tier 2, our reporting requirements become more onerous. And well, that would be the main tier, and we must put in to satisfy what we're reporting through our disclosures, etc. That would be my quick answer to that.
Because we have demands on our services, well, today, there's more, never penny counts, doesn't it? We could go close on some of these projections.
We could go close, and I think we're living in a very global, uncertain time.
Yes, that's right.
So if you have, I think the way I must probably answer that question is you need to separate our OPEX from our CAPEX. If we talk on our OPEX, which I think you're referring to here, our operating expense, yes, fuel prices will have an impact. If we do get close to that, what we then need to look internally first on how we manage that forecast overspend, if I call it that, to really constrict and then become tight on how we spend our money. We do have the option of drawing down on investment fund, and council has agreed to that. And the second part for short-term, on a short-term basis, we have access to the LDA to short-term funding. So from meeting our commitments, I think we're okay. From a operating time, and a lot of those things I'm sensing maybe out of our control, out of our immediate control, the company field, etc. Does it answer your question?
The key answer then, we've got to take a bit of a precautionary approach because we are close to the wind.
I'd say absolutely. Yes.
So how often do they alter the tier 2, tier 3 threshold?
I think that would be the external auditors would look at that as an organisation. And I'm talking, Fiona, please correct me if I'm wrong. As an organisation, we'd have an obligation to advise to disclose that if we're going to get. So I'd say that's
mining companies, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, they vary it from time to time, and just is it? Are we overdue for an update? Tier 2.
Take that on notice because I haven't been asked a question, but I say we have a responsibility to disclose that. That would be my view. The common sense approach, but that would be monitored through government, through our external auditors, and the governance thing that would be monitored though.
Yeah, just a question, Colin. We take 25, 26 on page 21. The rating, our rates are 14 million, I think, we collect, but if you look at it, 4.5 million is for targeted rates, which is rating district. Page 37, go to the top.
37.
Well, 37 on the there's two numbers. 37 in our main paper.
Green 37, only one.
You go up to 25, 26. Their general rates are 9.7 million and target rates are 4.5. But realistically, the targeted rates are for the rating districts. So we would only get 9.7.
10.4 a year over 26, 27.
Yeah, so if I'm understanding you, the question is 25, 26, we've got 9.7 of general.
What I'm saying is our total rates are quoted at 14 million. But if you break it down, 9.7 is general rates and 4.5 is targeted rates. So we really only get 9.7. The targeted rates go to the rating districts.
Yes,
so that's correct.
Fiona?
Can I just provide clarification there? So of the targeted rates of also 672,000 is for TTPP and 1.7 million is for emergency management. So is it all for the rating district?
Yeah, okay. And then put it in perspective, their employee benefits, if you go back to page 33, come down near the bottom. employee benefits would be our wages, our wage bill, is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
So 9.2 million. So really our rates are just barely covering the wages, is that correct?
If you can look at it that way, but I think I'd probably look at it broader, in that you have to look at all sources of revenue, because your rates, you've got your staff working on capital projects, so they're funded through a different stream. You've then got our contracts through VSS, which is bringing in revenue. So I think looking at it, that's not a fair comparison. I think you need to look at all the revenue and then break it down into the expenses, because the other revenue streams are supporting and funding our employee costs.
So what you're saying, Colin, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, there are some working on the Westport project who are funded through that central government funding.
Correct, that's right.
Rather than order rates.
That's right.
Yeah, that's correct. So what I'm saying is we're relying on the other outwork, you would call it, to run the council.
You would throw VCS in the mix here too, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right.
And if we're sailing close to the tier 2, tier 3 threshold, that could become important. Otherwise,
tier 1, tier 2.
Tier 1,
tier 1, tier 2, I mean.
Yeah.
Then we could argue that those really aren't our mates. Just processing it for various sections.
Doing a score and own goal.
Can I check that on notice? I think the other thing to add different gears, and then you get better understanding of that.
Fiona, do you have anything to add to that?
Sorry, I didn't actually catch that very last bit, so I'm no.
This is in terms of the tier 1, 2, 3 arrangements.
CBEs.
Yeah. Is there likely to be movement in those tier limits in the near future, upwards?
In the what limit, sorry?
In each tier limit?
The public benefit entities, so there are financial requirements. There's a threshold at $30 million for tier 2s currently, and we're knocking on the door of
Sorry,
tier
yes,
1.
Yes, so I did have a look at that. It's possibly a consideration for their long-term plan. It won't apply this year, but yes, we are getting close to that, that different level of reporting required.
Thanks, Fiona. Andy?
Just here on the fees and charges, 25, 26, it says 4,575,000. And then for 26, 27, it's only 1,621,000.
That's right. So what we are expecting is increased fees and charges across our compliance area. So that's one element. What we've also done is, if we go back to our workshops, we've applied 2 years of 2.3% increases, which is also adding to that increase. And the other point as well is, as an organisation, to become more efficient in the way we're collecting money from third parties. So if you add that up, that takes us to our 4.4, and that's a methodology and a thought behind the increased fee. If we then compare it, however, to the 25-26 annual plan, you'll see it's the long-term plan is a bit of an outlier when you look at it from that perspective. But yeah, we're confident we've got plans in place to achieve that revenue through better collection. And this is invoicing, not a base number.
So we will bring back to you at the same time as we bring the annual plan back on the 16th of June, the amended fees and charges schedule, which is the 5.4% applied across all the fees and charges and to the hourly rate, as was discussed at the workshop too.
Helen?
Yeah, I'd have to comment on that. A lot of the complaints I'm getting are about the costs on consents and compliance. A lot of complaints now coming out on compliance and the costs. Looks as though you've got a bit of a drive on recovering a lot of your running expenses from the industry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we took that on board when the comment was made at the workshop. So what we've done is we've just applied CPI, that's all. So the discussion about other revenue and any significant operations does need to take place as part of the long-term plan. So we just stuck to the basics of CPI and that's all.
And that's the appropriate place for that discussion, isn't it?
It is.
And plan with the community. Yeah.
We'll take these kind of.
Yeah.
Points.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if I could just make a comment on this matter. For a number of a large number of previous years back in history, there has been in our fees and charging policy as part of this council and even before me, a 65 and 70% recovery rate on consents and compliance. That has not changed. That's still part of our LTP, which the previous triennium approved. It's clear that when we look at the back financial performance and even in recent years, the consents and compliance team has not been achieving that degree of recovery, and hence that shortfall has been picked up by general rate. And in fact, up until when I arrived, a lot of that shortfall was actually being subsidised by the gravel world because of their underperformance and recovery. And basically, it just came down to time sheeting and making sure that they were time sheeting properly, against the jobs, either the consents and compliance jobs that were coming in. We have had a very big focus, and you're right, Councillor Birchfield, to ensure that we're doing what Council has endorsed and passed as LTP of 65-70% recovery. And yes, that is resulting in probably increased bills going up the door to achieve that policy that Council endorsed. Because before that, it was being funded by general rate. Thanks.
Good. Carry on. Yeah.
No, nothing.
You're on.
Happy to take any further questions.
Any further questions from the team?
Just from a sense of process, the lease borrowing draft.
Yes.
We've got meeting scheduled for the 19th of May.
Yes.
Which may or may not inform other decisions. But on June the 16th of June, which needs to be finalised, will be tabled to the council for adoption. Okay. And we really want to meet that timeline.
Yes.
We need to meet with the organisations. They inform going to the new financial year. And this was a governance perspective. That's my side of it.
Sorry, can I just provide some emphasis there? So going back in previous years, this council's had a track record of not meeting its statutory reporting timeframes of its annual plan or annual report, and has been rather late. Have to say that in the last couple of years that we've met those timeframes and don't want that jeopardised this year. So today is the first public outing and airing of the annual plan for next year today, and we've got some good feedback today. We'll have a further opportunity to raise anything potentially on the 19th, which is another opportunity, because what we can't have on the 16th of June is anything coming in from left field. That means we've got to redo all the numbers, because then we won't meet our statutory reporting of adoption before 30 June, through audit. Okay, so please, thank you for your feedback today. Either on the 19th or a call to me or Colin in the intervening time outside of the council meetings. We do need to hear if you've got any major issues with it. Otherwise, we're looking for just an adoption on the 16th from you to meet our statutory reporting timeframes. Thank you.
Through the chair, I've just got one more comment. Well, it's more of a query, really. Just so I'm reading this, the consolidated funding impact statement correctly. Just to follow on from Councillor Birchfield's comment about the general rate of income is 9.7, targeted as 4.5. Shouldn't we be looking at one column over? Is that correct? 26, 27, 25, 26 has been gone.
Yeah, that's gone.
So we should be looking at the second
10
column,
The third column.
third column, sorry,
People
third column, yes, sorry. Yeah, okay, whatever. That's 10.4 and 4.8, is that correct?
That's correct. Then we do the first.
27 year, yeah.
2 points of comparative.
Yeah. I mean, the end result's very similar, right? But yeah, okay, that's right, just so I understand. Yep, thank you, that's fine.
Right. Any further questions? All right, thanks, Karen, thanks, Colin. So it is recommended that council resolve to 1, endorse the draft annual plan 2026-2027 with the provision that these matters are incorporated in the final plan before it is returned for adoption. A, its decision about the Franz Joseph infrastructure loan, and B, any other matters it raises at this meeting. Do I have a mover for that recommendation?
Can I just have a query on, through the chair?
Councillor McIntyre.
Can I just have a query on its decision about the Franz Joseph infrastructure loan? Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. Can you explain that to me a wee bit more, please?
Yes, I can. So if we go to Franz Joseph, they've got a loan in place. And what's this or been approved? So the loan has been approved through the council. What needs to be approved is the timing, the repayment terms of what period of time. And that paper will be coming to council on the 19th for discussion. So it's the.
So if I'm correct, Colin, the term for that loan needs to be set.
Yeah.
To then ascertain the repayments, which will then influence this plan.
Right, so it's subject to knowing the detail on that.
Yes.
Yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I can just add, we went out for public consultation on it, and that was concluded.
Yes.
And the joint committee, was in favour of all those sorts of things, of the quantum of loan and the works associated with that quantum.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what never got landed through that process was the loan term.
Right.
And that was deferred. So on the 19th, you'll have some information, as we normally do, with different repayment terms, and what that might mean from a rating perspective.
Yeah.
For, 100,000, 500,000,
Yeah.
whatever property value. We're in the throes also of getting from the joint committee members some feedback on the term as well, and what their recommendations are for the members.
Yeah.
And that's the last remaining thing we just need to align is what is the loan term, not quantum, the loan term. That we need to build in, which was.
So on that matter, then I'll be happy to move that through the chair. Sorry.
Hold by the councillor. Councillor.
Just an issue. Like they're saying the stop banks might only be there for 10 years. So like in a normal situation, you'd probably put it out. They could go to 50 years to repay it. But are they going to be allowed to?
Well, this is correct me if I'm wrong. This is a discussion we will have with the joint committee, and a recommendation will be made from the joint committee, which this council will then determine. So that's a discussion. That'll come on there, I think.
Yep.
Because that is the issue. If
It is.
they're gone in 10 years, they won't be there to pay it.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Understand that.
Very good point. Any other questions before I allow Councillor McIntyre to move? Councillor McIntyre, fire away.
If then basically reinforcing Andy's concerns, that will be all in that paper, that decision to be made on the 19th. So I'll be happy to move.
Thank you, Councillor McIntyre. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. All in favour? Against? Motion.
Record my vote against, thank you.
Against, Alan? Vote against, recorded. Motion carried. All right. Okay. Now,
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if lunch is here. I know we had some other items on this agenda. I wonder if we could adjourn, can I suggest for 1 hour, and reconvene at 1:30. That will enable us to get some lunch. And can I suggest, councillors, that we get some lunch, bring it back into here, and there's some other matters that we urgently need to talk about.
Sure.
And then we reconvene this committee at 1:30.
So what matters are we talking about?
Reform.
Councillors happy with that?
We've only got one item here, just to pick up.
We could do that.
You want to do
Yeah,
that?
get rid of it. And it's done. I go totally excluded because.
So do I have a mover to go into public excluded?
Yep.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Peter. Seconded. All in favour? Yes. Well up. Okay, there being no further business, I declare this meeting closed